Geez, what a great question.
That's such a good question, and something that, like, at least for me as an actor, I'm always like, I'm horrible, always.
Yeah.
That questions comes from a me problem. Every single time I wrap an interview, I'm like, that sucked. But
yeah, right. I think we all are so guilty of that.
I don't know. That's such a good question. I don't think that I don't know. I think as actors and actresses, we're so driven not by self-affirmation, but by the affirmation of others.
welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Perri Nemiroff with Collider. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the stars of Beautiful Disaster, Dylan Sprouse and Virginia Gardner. Hello, and congratulations on the movie.
Thank you.
Hello.
So I love moderating SAG Q&As because it gives me an excuse to ask this question. For both of you, what project earned you your SAG card?
I did a co-star on a show called The Heart of Dixie, where I played young Jamie King, and I believe that was the project that got my SAG card.
I've had my SAG card, believe it or not, since 1997.
Whoa.
Which I was a very young baby for. So I don't even remember earning it. But I've had it for a very long time. So it's funny to look at the date of the SAG card earned on my SAG card. So
making the most of it ever since. All right. So
see,
a question for both of you here. In general, when you first book a new role, what's something that you like to do to start preparing to play a new character that stays the same from project to project? But then also, can you share something specific to Abby and Travis that called for something unique this time around?
I think that it's important. I will preface by saying I'm going to preach the importance of taking a break. Like that's very important, I think, for actors to do, because I think as you kind of transition into a new character, if you're going on the back of a previous project, you're rife to bring in the same intentions and understanding of characters naturally that you brought in before. So I'm like a big break guy. I think that you need to take breaks in between projects. But for me personally, I like to ascribe to taking roles that seem uncomfortable, because if they're fundamentally uncomfortable, then you're going to challenge yourself and grow as an actor. So I, with Travis at the very least, working out and training and doing bare knuckle boxing the way that I did was certainly not something that I had ever done before. And I was interested in trying that. So that was definitely the biggest challenge of this character, was the 4 hours of training and scrapping that we did every day.
Oh, I got questions about the boxing. We will get
I'm
to
sure
that.
You do.
How about for you, Virginia?
For me, every time I take on a role, I always make a playlist. I'm really inspired by music, so I'll create a playlist that sort of kind of is, what she would have listened to when she was younger, what she listens to now, maybe the vibe of certain scenes. I'll have songs on that I might listen to before doing a certain scene. So I'm really inspired by music, and I also like to respect the characters' lives as if someone had to play me and what they would need to know to play me. So I'll do a lot of journaling and kind of create a pretty rich backstory, and occasionally we'll pull poems or certain things from literature, read a book that I think they may read. So I really like to kind of create like a binder full of her life story before I begin to take her on. And then with Abby specifically, I had never played poker before, and she's a world-class poker player. So I had poker lessons, and my dad is a good poker player, so I got to play a lot with him, which was fun. And I learned all the fancy shuffling techniques and things like that. So that was a fun, specific skill to be able to learn for this film.
Oh, I got questions about that skill too, but I'll follow up on something you just brought up. Is there anything specific from the binder that you created for her that maybe isn't pivotal to the story and what's unfolding, but we could still feel informing your performance that you hope audiences pick up on?
I think specifically for this one, wardrobe really played a really big key because she was trying to look a certain way, very kind of over the top a little bit, pretending to be someone she wasn't with just her clothing. So I created like a big Pinterest board of what I think her actual style is and what I think she's pretending to look like, and how that we could arc that throughout the film, and kind of by the end throw her in a leather jacket so she almost feels influenced by Travis. So it was really fun to work closely with wardrobe on this film and create a character arc with clothing.
That is a fun thing to track throughout. All right, back to poker and boxing now. So for the boxing first, it sounds like you did train a lot for this, Dylan, but I'm always curious to hear about where an actor needs to kind of draw the line between doing things themselves, but also knowing that it's better for them in the production to hand something over to a stunt performer. So can you give us an example of something you did yourself on camera that you're really proud of, but then also something where it felt right to hand it over to someone else?
Actually, none of the scenes that we did in this particular film were worthy of a stuntman, I think I should say, in that way. We did a lot of training to make sure, and a lot of choreography to make sure that the scene looked great. But like in terms of the actual distribution of fight scenes throughout the movie, it was about maybe 30% of the movie. Even less than that, Jen. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I wanted to make sure that I was fully in that. But I'm on the side of like not having the kind of ego, the actor ego during a thing like these. I grew up in like and around Agoura, which is in California, which is known famously for their stuntmen to come out of it. So I'm on the side of just like, don't have an ego, just let them do their thing. They are going to be naturally much better at it than you are because they've trained specifically. So I'm always on the side of handing it away. If it's that, I'm not trying to ruin and shut down production because I have an ego. But with this movie, I was actually handling all of the fight scenes. So I think they came out well. I hope. Fingers
They're
crossed.
hugely impressed. I was genuinely surprised to hear you just say that, because like every punch that's landed in kick, it's visceral. You feel it on the other side.
Maybe that's because I grew up in Agoura and I was around so many stuntmen. But I don't know. Yeah. I'm on the side of passing it off when it's not for you. So
very effective handling it all yourself here. All right, now to the poker. Can you maybe give us one do and then also one don't for playing a believable poker prodigy?
Well, for me, I really wanted to get familiar with the cards, especially because she's been playing since she was like a little girl. So I actually like carried around a poker chip for a while and watched TV and fiddle with it and kind of really get familiar with the cards and shuffling and how to handle them. Because as much as my understanding of the game can help inform the character, what really helps inform the character and sell it is the familiarity with the cards and with the game and how it's all handled. So that was really what I wanted to focus on the most. I guess I don't really have like a don't in terms of what you shouldn't do to play a poker player. I guess like don't not learn poker at all would be my advice for that. But I watched some poker movies as well. I watched like Molly's Game and I watched The Cooler and some stuff to get familiar with that world too.
Oh, excellent movies to just watch for fun.
I know. I hadn't seen either of them. It was a great excuse. Yeah.
All right. I have many, many questions now about building believable and palpable chemistry on screen. So first, for both of you, and for any film, whether it's this one or anything that one can tackle out there, what qualities do you hope to see when you first meet a scene partner that you're about to have an on-screen relationship with that can signal to you that chemistry will come naturally?
I think saying chemistry is actually a shorthand for saying that you like the person you're working with. So like, I think like you actually just have to enjoy spending time with the person on set, which can mean a bunch of different things. I think professionally, Ginny and I are both very professional people, which I think is the most important key. You have to make sure that you can show up on time and provide the quality of work that you are both interested in creating. And I think that's the best chemistry that you can give personally. But I think in terms, for me personally, I would say like similar sense of humor, which Ginny and I definitely have. We have a similar kind of gross and yucky sense of humor that made it kind of fun to banter back and forth with. And I think that's like the real key to getting a good chemistry as well.
I really want to ask how you define gross and yucky humor, but I feel like that might cross the
I think
line into territory we're not supposed to go in. I bet for you, Virginia, anything you want to add?
Yeah, we certainly have a really similar sense of humor and get along really well as friends. And that reads on screen. I think whether it's romantic chemistry or someone you're supposed to be playing their best friend or a lifelong friend, I think when you get along off screen, it always reads on screen so much better when you're really friends. And also for us, we had an incredible intimacy coordinator, which, as we all know, that's becoming sort of an industry standard. And thank God for that, because that really allows you to feel so much more comfortable in those intimate scenes and allows it to almost feel safer having that chemistry, if that makes any sense, because you have this third party there that's helping maintain the professionalism on set. So that's also like an incredible addition.
Oh, I will always take an opportunity to emphasize the importance of an intimacy coordinator. Can you maybe give us an example of a tool this intimacy coordinator gave you that, in the past, when they weren't frequently present on set, you never realized was even accessible for you?
Yeah, I think what was really impressive to me about Corinne is she, first of all, called, I assume she called you separately too, Dylan. I don't want to speak for you though, but she called me privately to talk about all the scenes and talk about my boundaries and a safe word if I wanted a safe word, if things felt uncomfortable on set. And she also makes sure that people aren't on set that don't need to be, and that it's actually a closed set, because before you kind of never knew who was watching the monitors in those kind of scenes. And she makes sure that no one is watching the monitors that shouldn't be watching the monitors. And on top of all of those things to make it feel safer, I actually think that she makes the scenes better. But she helps with the choreography as well. And so she really helped elevate the intimate scenes too, because she was able to tell us what was reading, what wasn't reading, some camera angles, ideas, because that's all she does as intimate scenes. So just in so many ways, I think it just makes the environment so much better. I'm so happy that they exist.
I still can't get over how recently it was that I first heard the term intimacy coordinator.
Way too recent.
Should have been a norm forever.
It's crazy. I've done scenes without them in just entirely different experience without an intimacy coordinator. I'm so grateful for it.
It should have been a thing 20 years ago.
More, it should always have been a job. And so crazy.
I 100% agree.
Really is something else. I want to ask you both a question about being good scene partners for each other. Can you each tell me a time when the other was just the scene partner you needed, where, something was a little challenging, but because of what they gave you, you were able to get through a tough scene and just crush the material?
Examples off the top of my head, I can't really say, because I think Ginny and I'm sorry to speak for you, Ginny, but I think Ginny and I are both in the camp of being on 24/7. Like I really will say I hate when actors only give it their best during their own coverage. I think it's really annoying. And I think it's a diva thing. And Ginny is so professional in that it's always 100. And so whether it's your or her coverage or anyone's coverage, the emotion you can always get to, because she makes it so accessible and easy to be able to do that, because she's giving it her best all the time. And I think that's so important to do. I think because it's a very egoless and selfless understanding of what the job is. And so, again, sorry to speak for you, Ginny, but I was extremely thankful that you were that way as your fellow actor. So
Thank you. Well, you're the same. I mean, you're the exact same. And this is like, I think also beyond set, when you're having a hard day on set or need to commiserate about something that isn't going well, to be able to have someone you trust and you can have those conversations with and sort of help each other emotionally get through what sometimes can be a tough and long shoot is really important. And to have a scene partner and a fellow actor offset as well, that you can call and be like, I'm really stressed about what's going on the set. This isn't working for me, or that's not working for me. And to be able to have someone to help kind of have each other's backs and keep each other safe and sane is really important. And that doesn't come around every single day. So when you find people like that you enjoy working with and you can trust in that sense, it's really huge.
To follow up on that a little, what would you say is the key to being always able to give 100% for your own coverage and also for someone else's, but also making sure your energy level never dips, for anyone out there who might be afraid to do that at risk of burning out?
Well, I think there's a difference I think that it's very scene dependent. I do think that it's something like you're not going to bawl your eyes out or scream at the top of your lungs on someone else's coverage necessarily, but I think it's about invoking that emotion. I think that there's ways to not tucker yourself out while also invoking the emotion that's needed in a scene in the opposite coverage of yourself. And I think that's one of the things that being an actor is about, maybe. So trying to find where that line gets drawn is a level of professionalism I think is very important. I don't know, Jen, what do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, I've certainly been in scenes where I've asked my scene partner, like, I don't know if I can continue to cry on your coverage. Like, are you comfortable if I don't? And no one's ever said, no, I'm not comfortable if you're not actually crying. But I do think that is, to what you said, Dylan, a skill set in itself, is being able to evoke the same emotion and give the same intention to your scene partner and give them everything without, harming yourself or your own coverage when it comes to it and you can't cry anymore. I think as new actors, we've all probably been there, or I know I have, where I've gimmed it all in a wide and forgotten about the close-up. And by the time it comes to the close-up, I'm like, shit, I was like giving it everything I had in the wide, and now I'm exhausted and I can't scream anymore or whatever it is. So I do think that's a very specific skill that the more you're on set, the more you learn is how to be there for your scene partner and give everything without harming yourself.
You can't bring up fake crying without me thinking of one of my favorite sillier questions to ask. Of every seemingly trivial real life thing that you have to bring to life on screen, like fake waking up, fake acting cold, fake sneezing, what specific thing do you find most difficult to do?
Most difficult thing to do? Oh, what a great question. I'm actually not a natural crier because I'm so traumatized in real life. So I'm like a virulent supporter of the tear stick. I do love it. I think it's important, especially look, there's so many scripts that you get that don't get you there. I worked with a really great actor named Ron Rifkin, whoever's watching this, I'm sure will know from not only theater, but television and film. Ron Rifkin told me once while I was working with him, he said, don't ever say lines or do things that don't get you there as an actor. And I thought that was a beautiful way to explain that it's not your responsibility to force emotion or force anything. That naturally it should get you there. Or if it doesn't get you there, then you can workshop it with whoever you're with to get you there. But in the event that you're doing something that you don't think will get you there, I'm a supporter of the tear stick. I hate the stigma behind it. I hate that people don't no, you're not an actor if you can't produce overflowing amount of tears naturally. No, hold on. These are the tools of the trade that we've had for a very long time, and we should be supportive of. And I think it's about the egoless journey to asking for it that I think is important to do. So
I completely second that. I mean, if everyone has days where you're like, it's just not accessible to me today. I've done all of the tricks I usually do and it's not accessible to me. I'm feeling a block or whatever it is. And yeah, those tricks are available to us. And there is a really stupid stigma around them. And for me, I'll never forget, I don't want to name the actor, but I was working with, I don't know if she won an Academy Award or was nominated, but an actor of that stature. And she was on set and she couldn't produce tears that day. And I saw her almost spinning out about it and getting very frustrated with herself that even she couldn't produce tears that day on set. And so you see that and I'm like, that's an Academy Award nominated actor that's even struggling sometimes. So we all have off days. And I think it's important to not have the ego get in the way and harm your performance because you don't want to ask for something. And like Dylan said, if the material isn't getting you there, sometimes there's a good reason for that. And, you know, the take they would end up using wouldn't be the forced tears. The take that probably feels the most organic is the take that they're going to use anyway. So I'm always err on the side of whatever's coming naturally is coming naturally.
Oh, such useful advice there. I'm going to have to wind down with you both soon, but I wanted to at least squeeze in my new favorite question. I love asking this because in this industry, I feel like we give out awards to other people, which is wonderful, celebrating our peers' work, but people rarely tell themselves good job. So whether it's on Beautiful Disaster or any past project you made, is there any particular scene you could look back on and say to yourself, like, damn, I am proud of what I accomplished on that?
geez, what a great question.
That's such a good question and something that, like, at least for me as an actor, I'm always like, I'm horrible, always.
Yeah.
That questions comes from a me problem. Every single time I wrap an interview, I'm like, that sucked. But
yeah, right. I think we all are so guilty of that.
I don't know. That's such a good question. I don't think that I don't know. I think as actors and actresses, we're so driven not by self-affirmation, but by the affirmation of others. I was working once. I did a poetry retreat in Paris, which sounds very annoying, but I did that in Paris during college. And one of my professors told me the only currency poets ever make is the appreciation of other poets, which I think is a very apt understanding of actors as well. I would love to be in the place where I can find a particular scene that I'm really proud of, but I think that my own bias would lead me to say, I think that's not up to me. We do it for the audience, right? We do it for the appreciation of other actors, and we do it for the appreciation of the viewers. So if Ginny were to tell me I did a good job in that scene, I would feel a lot more confirmed than myself, personally.
beautiful answer.
I really would agree with that. I think the only thing that came to my mind was because it was like more of a physical thing to overcome, but I was filming a movie called Fall, and we shot on a tower that was over 100 feet tall in the desert, and it was over 100 degrees outside. And I had to hang off the tower with one hand, and it looked like I was not only doing it, but enjoying it and having fun. And in reality, I was having one of the biggest panic attacks I've ever had in my entire life. And the only person that knew was my co-star, Grace. And she had my back and was like, if you need to cut, I'll make it about me. Like, I'll say something's going on with me and that's what's going on. But I was able to fight through it and fight through the being up 100 feet in the heat, and my hand was slipping, and I had the safety wires, of course, but yeah, I'm still supporting myself with my own weight, and got through that panic attack feeling and made it through that scene. And that's a scene that when I look back on, I can still feel how horrified I was and that I was able to pull it off. But that's less of an acting thing and more of a just like personal, like I made it through something that was very scary to me at the time. And I'll always be proud of that.
Amazing movie, by the way.
Second that.
Yeah.
Second that.
You haven't
Second
seen
that
it,
big time. It's very good. You should be very proud of that movie. You should both be very proud of this movie. I have to let you go, but I'm going to say thank you for your time. And on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, we really appreciate you sharing your experiences, your process, and your craft with your fellow performers. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.